On today's episode of Locked On 76ers, they return home and pick up a victory, a pretty good one, over a good basketball team in the New Orleans Pelicans. We'll break it all down next, right here, Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. What's up, D?
What's up, Keith? How you doing, man?
I can't complain.
Yeah, no need to, especially with everything that's going on. Before we get started, we want to welcome everybody. You are Locked On 76ers. I'm Devon Givens from 97.5 The Fanatic Radio in Philadelphia, alongside my co-host and partner, Keith Pompey, Sixers beat writer for theinquirer.com. And we want to thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On 76ers is free and available on all platforms, including right here on YouTube at Locked On 76ers. Before we get started to talk about the Sixers' big win over the New Orleans Pelicans on Monday night, we want to make sure that we address just briefly everything that took place in Monday Night Football in Cincinnati between the Bengals and the Bills, the unfortunate play that injured, of course, safety Damar Hamlin for the Buffalo Bills, and the tough events that we had to witness on Monday night. And we know, just as much as you all know, we don't know anything except for the information that we receive. Keith and I have both seen the play, and it's just tough to see it, especially knowing what took place thereafter with the CPR on the field, the ambulance having to come on the field and remove Hamlin from the field, take him to the nearest hospital a few minutes away. And thoughts and prayers are with Hamlin, his family, of course, his teammates, and the Cincinnati Bengals seemed really, crushed by everything that took place and really affected by everything. The game was postponed, as it should have been, on Monday night. So thoughts and prayers, of course, to Damar Hamlin and his family after everything that went down on Monday night. All right. Keith, big win for the Pelicans and Sixers over the Pelicans by 9. And hey, man, nice revenge, nice bounce back after what we saw a week ago. So we'll break this game down, talk about the things that we saw that we liked in this one, and how they got this one done as they now improved to 22-14 on the season and still in the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference standings right now, getting ready to host Indiana on Wednesday. But hey, man, this was a good win. We talked about it on Monday and what they needed to do, and playing against a very good team like the Pelicans are at the top of the Western Conference. And the Pelicans put it on them in that game on Friday, and the Sixers returned the favor, this time at home.
Yeah, I mean, it was two things that really stood out to me. The 76ers had 10 turnovers, right? That led to 9 points by the Pelicans. The 76ers had 19 turnovers the last game, which led to 30. But I really wasn't they tightened it up in the second half that game. But 10 from 19 is huge. It was a 21-point difference, right? But to me, it seems like the defensive job that they did on CJ McCollum. And that might sound crazy when people say, bruh, he scored 26 points. He made 5 of 8 threes. But when you look at the last game, he had 42 points and he made 11 3-pointers, right? So, I feel like right then and there, that was the big difference to me. It really was. I mean, you look at Joel Embiid, he had 42 points. He had another big game the last time. He didn't, score as many as he had this one. But but he still had a big game. But to me, the thing was, that the 76ers, cut down the turnovers and they shut him down. Now, I would be remiss to say this. I think the fact that Zion didn't play in the fourth quarter kind of helped the Sixers out a little bit too, right? I'm not saying they would have won the game or they would have lost the game, but it's hard to say that Zion, who had 26 points, who shot 10 for 12, wouldn't have been impactful in the fourth quarter. It's hard to say that he would not have been, but you look at it, this is a big win. And also, it was big from the standpoint that the Sixers have a 10-game winning streak at home, and they won those games by an average of 11 points. So that's huge right there.
I agree with you with the turnovers. We talk about this a lot, and I bring it up over and over again because when we talk about the keys to the game, one of their problems is coughing the ball up. And they did so 19, as you mentioned, and then you had the 30 turnovers. 30 points off those turnovers on Friday. And they cleaned that up in a big way with just the 9. And they only had 1, Keith, in the second half. And that was when James Harden decided to dribble the basketball out at the end of the game, out of respect of the game and out of respect of the opponent. And that's what they did, man. They protected the basketball in a big way. So I give them credit. They were able to sustain runs on their end. And while we know it's basketball, so it's a game of runs, you knew the Pelicans were going to make their own. It's just a matter of how you respond to that team making their run. And they were able to do something about it. Every time the Pelicans got close, they even took the lead at one point. The Sixers came right back and hit big shots and made sure that they took the lead, came back, played good defense on the other end. It was an entertaining game for me. Watching it while we evaluate what the team did, it was very entertaining because, listen, they were going back. They were throwing blows for a good couple of minutes in the quarter where they were just going back and forth in the third. Both teams throwing up a lot of points there. So good win. And as you said, protecting the home floor, getting good bench production from both George Niang, who hit 5 threes, Tyrese Maxey starting to really get his legs underneath him again. Didn't shoot all that great, but it's good to see him just out there firing them off
He
and
still
not
got a
hesitating.
long way to go. He still got a long way to
Oh,
go.
yeah.
I don't want to he'll even tell you that. So I don't want to make it seem like, this and that. He still got a long
No,
way
and
to
that's
go.
not what I was trying to
Yeah,
do. No, it's
yeah,
just simply he's got his legs underneath him to fire those shots up. You can
yeah,
come back and you can throw up 10 shots, and that's not an easy thing to do to try to find that groove. So he's still
yeah,
trying to find it, but it's good to see the speed is still there, knocking down a couple of shots, get back into it, and he'll get back into it in the right way when they need him the most, of course, as the season goes along, and hopefully bounce back to be the player that we know him to be. So
yeah.
good win overall by this basketball team, and let's
But
see what
here's
they
one
do.
thing though. Here's one thing we can't avoid. It was a good win, and I don't want to be
You're
Nelly.
about to do it, though. Don't
But
do it.
yeah, we got to bring up the facts. So the fact is a good win. The thing is though, as much as as much as I think this was a good win, and as much as like everything worked well for them, right? And I remember you brought up something to me. I think it was yesterday, and you said that this team struggles on the road, right? And when you look at it, I'm talking about the Pelicans. The Pelicans lost one, two, three. Uh, they lost 5 of their last 6 road games. And the only victory they had at that time was against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, again, so it's weird. Like you look at these two teams where you have a Sixer squad who struggles against elite teams on the road, and you have a Pelican squad who is killing everybody at home, but then they struggle on the road as well. So to me, it's kind of like it was a great win, and I ain't trying to be that, but it's kind of like, okay, which one is it? Like, is it a matter of does the Sixers come to play, or that they play this team that's trash on the road? And are the Pelicans that much better than the Sixers at home, or are the Sixers just discombobulated on the road? Because they both look. I mean, the Sixers looked horrible out there, but then they look good here. So it's one of those things we won't figure it out until they continue to play. You know what I mean? Other teams,
Yeah,
but it's
that's.
just crazy.
I think that's to be determined because, as you just said, that And you did say it that the Sixers played rough on the road too. So does that mean that the Sixers can't beat the Pelicans? And when the Pelicans play well at home, the Sixers don't play well on the road. It's the same example of Pelicans coming to Philadelphia, where the Sixers are now 15-5 and 7-9 on the road, or 6-9 on the road. So it's the same thing, and only one game separates them. you know, they are 24-14, and the Sixers are now 23.
Pelicans got a better squad, though. I think. I still think they
I,
have a
I
better team.
I don't disagree that I don't like their roster. It seems like I might like their roster better, but the
Yeah,
record is what the record is. They're
yeah, yeah.
23-14, and the Sixers are 22-14. So they're pretty identical in that way, and the same with their road records, and the same with both being able to win at home. When we come back, we'll dive into it a little bit more. Some other things that stood out in this one, and of course, Embiid having another bang out performance. And we need to talk about some of the other guys like Milton, Harden, Maxey, and Yang helping to get it done. We'll do that next right here, Locked On 76ers.
Let's talk about Prize Pick, right? So look at Prize Picks. Here, let's use Joel Embiid. So tonight, Joel Embiid had 42 points. So the thing is, are you going to take Joel Embiid to score more or less than 40 points? LeBron James to have more than 7.5 rebounds, right? So those are the things that you talk about when you talk about Prize Picks. So how does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they will go score more or less than their Prize Pick projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against the other people. It's just you and the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections to any sport that you watch. That includes the NBA, NFL, MLB. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. And is currently operational in 30 states and including Canada. Download the PrizePicks app and go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive the 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget the end of the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts is free and available wherever you get your podcast. All right, Keith, one of the things that I did want to throw your way was it seems that Doc Rivers has, I'm not going to say settled in on Montrezl Harrell being the backup going forward, or at least for, the right now. But he
Yeah.
has gotten the more consistent nod, if you will, when it comes to Embiid taking a seat on the bench. Montrezl Harrell has been getting the call. He played 11 minutes last night in the win over the Pelicans, and I thought he played pretty good in that short span. Brought some energy, provided some energy, and things that he normally does positively. Sometimes we see things and it goes the other way for Montrezl Harrell, but it seems like Doc Rivers is kind of leaning that way right now with the veteran big man instead of the young guy Paul Reed.
Yeah, I think it's that way for now.
For
Like,
now, right?
I do. I think it's that way for now. Um, I mean, that's one of those things. Like, he did. He did have like two steals in the block. But I like Trez. I mean, I really do. But I just think that he's a little on the small side, right? Um, but he brings energy. He gets dunks. I mean, there was one point where that first time I ever saw someone block his shot, like because he's under the paint, he goes up and they just like pinned it, So he played. He was 1 for 4 shooting, but I mean, I guess, but I guess it's one of those things for now. The question is this, are you comfortable, or the Sixers comfortable with those two guys backing up Embiid? Because if you notice, it's one of those things where, you know, everybody else on the bench were like a plus and he was a minus. Like, him and Tobias Harris were the only two guys on the team in minus. Now, granted, he got it back. Like, it only ended up being a -1 at the end of the game. But to me, it was kind of like they were losing a little bit
I
when,
actually thought he played well.
yeah, I mean, he played all right. But, when you look at the other bench guys like, Shake and or Matisse was like a plus. Matisse was like a +12. George Niang was a +7. I mean, he played well, but I don't know. Like, when we project, I mean, again, and there's nothing against him. I just think that they need a bigger center. They just need a bigger center. And there was times when they were going on a run when he was out there. Now, that's not to say that he still can't get those minutes. I just think that he's the type of player that he can move to the 4, right? And then also you can have somebody blocking shots out there. I think the way that he plays well in the pick and roll. He's a rim runner. He can do all those things. He's a dunker. I just think, I mean, a roller, not rim runner, but a roller, and he can do those things. It's just, to me, I just like get a little concerned on a
Have
defense.
we seen? I don't remember. So pardon me if we have. I know we've seen it with Paul Reed and Embiid. I don't remember seeing Montrez on the floor with Joel Embiid for short spurts. Just to see to
He
your
did
point
it
of
a couple times. He did it a couple
I
times
don't
with him,
remember it. Yeah.
but it was like, I think it was like one game, like early on, like not early on, but once Joel came back. But yeah, it wasn't really. Nah, like they haven't really had that. I mean, because Doc says he looks at him as a center. The only problem is he's 6'7". He's 6'7", long arms. And the thing is just, I don't know. I just think you need another big long body just to have, just to have.
Well, there's still guys out there that they haven't. We don't know that they haven't checked on them, but they certainly haven't brought them in. And right now, in terms of the free agent players, doesn't seem like they're going to go in that direction. Maybe if it comes down to it by the trade deadline or the buyout period, maybe it'll be addressed at that point. But right now, it just seems that he's leaning more that way with Montrezl Harrell. And again, it could be situational based on the opponent, but how I viewed it the last few games, he's really leaning heavily to Montrezl Harrell. So just something to keep an eye on. And right now, they picked up a good win. He played some good minutes. He didn't score 1 for 4, as you pointed out, shooting, but the overall play on the floor in the game, I thought was pretty good for Joel Embiid. When we come back, Keith, we'll wrap things up here with the Sixers picking up the 120-111 victory over the New Orleans Pelicans. And also got to talk about this one. I don't know if you've seen it. There was a big eruption in points last night by an individual player. It was a darn good game. We'll talk about it next right here. Locked On 76ers.
BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and World Cup. We got it all on betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today and use your mobile device and learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Speaking of those lines, Keith, welcome back to Locked On 76ers, everybody. That's Keith Pompey. I'm Devon Givens. This is Sixers related just because they're right in front of the Sixers. Now a full game up on the basketball team. If they would have lost, they went to overtime against the Bulls. They would have been tied. Now, they would have stayed in the 4th spot because of the tiebreaker. Cleveland, man, no Darius Garland tonight, but Donovan Mitchell had 71 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds in 50 minutes since they went into overtime. Now, DeMar DeRozan had a fantastic game himself in the loss. He had 44, 71. And with his assists, Keith, he combined for a total of scored or assisted on 99 total points in that game on Monday night. Tremendous performance, 71.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't see any of it. I mean, I was in
Yeah,
the lock, yeah,
I
covering.
know. That's why I
I was in
wanted
the
to
locker
tell
room.
you.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. Like, I mean, that's a great feat, by him. And but it is also weird, like this season. Like I don't know. Like I know you talked about it before, and you're saying like, yo, the guys are that much better, like they're really good. But I don't think they're better than like, like Michael Jordan or anybody like that. But they're putting up numbers that they didn't, that weren't able to put up. Like there's only been 5 guys who scored 70 points, right? At least 70. And I don't know, what is it? Is it the lack of defense, whatever? Because you're getting all these dudes just killing these teams, and it's not like, I mean, they're scoring points like they're playing against a bunch of G leaguers, and they're doing it against NBA type guys. So that's the ridiculous part to me, that they're able to score all these points. You know.
Yeah, he was really efficient from the floor. Got to the free throw line, made 20 free throws. He did make a lot of threes, and he didn't turn the basketball over either in 50 minutes of play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, just a tremendous performance. 71 points. Again, like I said to you last time when we talked about him beating his 59. 71 and 71. Luka has had 60 this season, and he had that with a 21 rebound, 10 assist day. That has never been done before. And now we get this one tonight where he was just a 2 rebounds shy of a triple double with 71 points. The last one I remember was 70 was Devin Booker with the Phoenix Suns in his early years when they lost to the Boston Celtics, and he dropped 70 in that game. Man, 71, something else.
Yeah.
And so the Sixers are game back of Cleveland. They're 2 games up on the Indiana Pacers, and the Pacers will be in town, Keith, on Wednesday night, and they're playing some good basketball also.
Yeah, now the only thing is like, just to do a little segue. So my man scored 71 points, right? You got Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker combining for 8. And the reason, I mean, so you look at the whole Tobias, and
Tobias
I'm
only
a little,
took 5 shots last night.
he only had 5 shots. He got
Five
one
shots.
shot in the
Opening
he had
quarter. Yeah.
he had one shot in the second half,
Hmm.
and that was in the third quarter, right? So here's my concern, right about now, is like, you know, I feel like they went a lot with this 3 guard lineup, and they had some success with it. Although Maxey isn't quite there yet.
Hmm.
DeAnthony Melton only had 3 shots. Harden shot 8 for 19. Maxey shot 4 for 14, 5 for 14, and DeAnthony Melton was 3 for 6, 3 for 5. PJ Tucker didn't even play in the fourth quarter. He didn't even get any burn in the fourth quarter whatsoever. You know,
Well,
huh?
Niang was hitting the shots, and
Yeah, that. But what I'm trying to
but
say
but
is,
we've seen that when he has hit his shots, PJ Tucker stays on the bench.
but what I'm saying is, that's nice and all that, but dudes want to play. They're going to tell you. They're going to tell you. They're going to say like, "Hey, it's all good. Everything is cool." But I'm just going to tell you this: Tobias wasn't in the locker room when we got there.
No, I'm not saying he was happy.
Whatchamacallit, I asked PJ, "Hey, you got a minute?" He said, "I'll be right back," and never came back. Right? So the fact that George Niang is lighting it up, good for George, good for the Sixers. The fact that they did this experiment with these 3 guards is something they're working on. They won the game. But my concern is feelings are going to start getting involved, man. Like, you
Well,
know what
they
I
knew
mean?
what they were getting into when they brought these players in that can play and can get minutes. And the same thing with the players. They talk like we said this on media day when we
Come on,
talked
D,
about it
you know
with
better
the
than that,
players. You
bro.
ask
Bro,
the guys, and everybody's like, "Yeah, we're all bought in." Until the
but
basketball starts rolling, your minutes get
yeah,
taken away.
exactly, exactly. Everybody says the right thing, but that, to me, this is something they might want to get control over, or somebody does it, because like everybody wants to win, but people want to get shots. They want to get shots. And to me, this is something that people are going to downplay. But the fact that one dude was ghost and the other dude kept moving, you know what I mean? And let's face it, this was a big win for him. But I don't everybody it just seems like everyone doesn't enjoy things. They may say it and they're going to say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." But to me, 5 shots, that was a season low, 5 shots. And he played at least he was on the floor to close out the game, the final 4:52. But he wasn't involved at all. And PJ wasn't even in the game. So, it's one of those things where, everybody wants to get their shots up. So to
Well,
me, that's
again,
something.
the Harris thing is more concerning for me because he didn't get enough touches and enough shots. The Tucker part is the guy's hitting shots. You don't take him off the floor. That's just the bottom line. Is he's hitting them. He had big ones down the stretch where, yes, PJ Tucker will make some big defensive stops, but it's also that you need those points too. When New Orleans closed the gap, then CJ McCollum made it 110-107. You needed your shooters out there to make sure that you also got some points, and you had DeAnthony Melton out there playing defense. He wound up hitting a big shot to extend the lead to 113-107, and then they ran away with the game with 7 more points. The Harris part is more concerning when it comes to that.
Yeah. Now,
Scoring
the one,
Oklahoma City with 23, and tonight he only gets 5 shots. And we'll see, because we've seen other teams that have had to deal with this, and they've won. So all of that stuff was masked. If this team doesn't win, then I'm sure that will be a topic of discussion quite a bit.
true. But if the thing about the PJ thing, you got to realize Zion didn't play in the fourth quarter. At that point, it looked like they was like, all right, PJ, we love you, bruh, but we don't need you right now. We need to go with the other guy. And
I looked at it that the other guy, while you're absolutely right, I just thought the other guy was hitting the shots. And what are you taking that out for?
yeah, but the thing is, the other guy hit shots, but he was 4 for 6 in the first half, and he only made 1 shot in the second half. One. So he was missing. But at the same time, I get what you're saying. He's their sharpshooter. But
He's the threat. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just saying, like, it ain't up for me to say what's right, what's wrong. But the fact that one left the locker room saying he was coming back to talk and he didn't, and the fact that the other one wasn't there, is just something to pay attention to.
It's not nothing. It's certainly something. I
Yeah.
agree with you there.
Yeah.
100%. But as far as the game went, they got a big win. We'll talk tomorrow as we get ready to preview the Indiana Pacers game as they come to town and take on the Sixers. They've won 4 games in a row. They're playing really well, and the Sixers beat them for their first win of the season after they started out 0 for 3. Sixers picked up their first win against Indiana. So completely different team than what we saw in the first week of the campaign in October. Keith, before we let everybody go, we got to thank everybody for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. And again, we'll get into the Indiana Pacers coming up next. Now, make your second listen Locked On NBA, Locked On Experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Do you mind telling the good folks, Keith, where they can find us?
Of course, we're you can get us wherever you get your podcasts at, but you also can listen to my man D tonight from 8 p.m. to midnight. So you doing the pre and post game stuff too?
Tonight, no, it's just 8 to midnight because of a football show that's on before me. So I got to go. Instead of my 6 to 10, I have to go 8 to midnight tonight.
Man, I hope you bring some coffee, bruh.
I got my tea
Oh, got your tea.
and my Built Bar.
Your Built Bar, and you can also follow Divine at Divine G975 on Twitter. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Pompey on Sixers, and you can read my articles in the Philly Inquirer, inquirer.com.
All right, that'll do it for us. So we'll be back tomorrow to preview the Sixers and the Pacers, dive into more Sixers conversation. Keith, have a great rest of your Tuesday, man. Talk to you tomorrow.
All right, bro. Peace.
See you, man. Thanks.